Okay, good afternoon. This is Liberian View, your favorite platform that provides information about the underserved and the actual life challenges of Liberians at home. And also, we create awareness about the real life situation facing all Liberians. Can we meet ourselves? Today, we will be taking a different look at the July 26, 2024 Liberia's 177th Independence Day speech. Can we mute ourselves? Delivered by Robtel and Pailey, Dr. Robtel and Pailey, the orator, and it was titled A Radical Agenda for Reimagining Liberia, a speech that was perceived as a as highly critical of Liberia's long-standing partner, the United States, prompting Catherine Rodriquez, the chargé d'affaires at the U.S. Embassy in Liberia, Monrovia, Liberia, to walk out. During this discussion by the Liberian View panelists, we will consider the following: public perception and national interest, freedom of expression versus diplomatic protocol, and also diplomatic consequences to include others. But for but before that, we'll provide you some perception of some Liberians within Liberia, with this according to how they perceive the speech. But for now, we ask anyone that is watching, if you're on Facebook, we ask you to please join us at www.facebook.com/the Liberian View. Or if YouTube is accessible for you, please join us at www.youtube.com/at the Liberian View. We appreciate it. Thank you. So what we're going to do quickly, I'm going to ask, I know we have Dr. Caroline Davis that's supposed to be joining us, but as you know, my name is Lucy Wilson here. And so we'll go to Dr. Lloyd quickly to introduce himself, and then we'll hear from Mr. Felix Wilson just briefly. And then the next voice you'll be hearing will be some Liberians who are leading associations and who also are advocate for this association. You hear the voice regarding what their perception, especially when it came to the 177 Independence Day speech. Dr. Lloyd, the floor is yours. You're muted.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Once again, elated to be here today, and I'm happy to be part of this platform. I'm the Reverend Dr. J. Edwin Lord Jr., um, a local minister here in Jonesville, Maryland. I am also a social entrepreneur and also a mental health specialist. I'm happy to be joining you all today perspective on the Independence Day address of the Republic of Liberia. And once again, in a brief nutshell, to say that thank you for joining us, and we look forward to a very healthy and rewarding discussion.
Okay, so we'll go quickly to, thank you so much, Dr. Lloyd. We're going to go quickly to our own Mr. Wilson.
Good evening, everyone. Madam Chair, Dr. Lloyd, Dr. Davis. I'm honored to share this platform with you today, and I want to introduce myself as Mr. Felix Wilson. I live in Dumfries, Virginia, with my family. I am a philanthropist at heart, a program financial analyst for over 24 years in the private sector, and I like to be known as a beacon with mad law for Liberia. Look forward to the discourse. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wilson. So move quickly to our own Dr. Davis. Just briefly introduce yourself, and the next voice we're going to be hearing after Dr. Davis conclude will be two individuals from Liberia. Dr. Davis, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lucy. It's great to be back on the Liberian View. Uh, I look forward to the discussion. I don't like to say much about myself. What I always say is I like for my action to speak more than my words. I do want to say that I am an educator in the United States, and I've worked as an educator here in the U.S. for uh, uh, at least since 1999. I've been blessed to teach in three different continents in the world, and when I see the progress that and the movement of my students is quite rewarding. So yeah, I like to educate not just by what I say, but by the example that I set. So I can say about myself that I consider myself a person of not just a person of faith who believes solely in salvation through Jesus Christ, but also a person of principle. I believe what's good for Peter, like the people used to say back home, what is good for Peter is good for Paul. So I consider myself a person of principle. And I realize that when you are a person of principle, it sometimes it rubs people the wrong way because you know, not everyone has that mindset. So I'm grateful to be on this platform to share my view and on the discussion we have today. And I'm always very grateful to just educate anyone who is willing to be teachable and to learn. Because learning is not something we do for a period of time, learning is a lifelong experience. And so I'm grateful to be here and to share mine little 2 cents to what we're going to be discussing today. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much. And my name is Lucy Wilson, care founder of the Liberian View, and also my specialties are public health and healthcare administrator. So let's move on. So we're going to hear from our two Liberians, younger generation, to tell us their perspective when it comes to the speech. So here we go.
I'm Claudius KB there.
Your position.
President for the Concerned Motorcycle Inter-Service Advocacy Movement of Liberia within the Motorcycle Inter-Service Center. Thank you for reaching out to motorcyclists, though we have been satisfied within the Republic of Liberia as one of those of a less important group of individuals, despite our contribution to the growth and development of Liberia and also to the economy. So by you recognizing the motorcyclists to come and solicit views from service in regards to the correction that was being placed out there by Dr. Pailey, we must commend you and say thanks for the opportunity given us. And firstly, I want to begin by saying it's a pleasure and it's a blessing to see myself alive and celebrating 177th Independence Day of my country. And I also want to say thanks to the government for a very unique program of sorts. And I also want to say thank you to the Orator, in person of Dr. Pailey, who presented one of the best speeches that I classify as a speech of my time of two different corrections. Her speech was very much unique, her speech was very much patriotic, and her speech speaks to what we call today, or what the president referred to as that we should think Liberia, love Liberia, and build Liberia. Her speech was placed in a form to reflect every Liberian home and abroad, regardless of our status in society, regardless of our positions. We all should reflect on our history, and we all should be able to understand that Liberia, yes indeed, is our common patrimonial, and what we should prioritize is the interest and growth and development of Liberia instead. So one of the lines in her speech that cut across and have created a whole lot of debate across the 11th law of Liberia, that speaks to the part that she mentioned about the U.S. government. I want to say that from my analysis, her speech was not like, or she was placing Liberia burden or blame on America. She was just being emphatically clear and being bold to the issue and informing us, yes indeed, that as Liberians, we should be able to rethink our relationship with America, and that statement also goes to America herself. She should be able to say and think about her relationship with Liberia as well over the years, over these decades. Her relationship with Liberia has been developmental, she has gained some progress. Probably she had her goal to see Liberia at certain area in time, as to whether they have been able to see Liberia at where they expected Liberia to be at this time, especially our 177th Independence Day. So her speech, and she said that America have taken more from Liberia than like they have given to Liberia. I agree with her speech.
You mean you agree with that?
I agree with that 100%, and I agree with every line, every sentence, every word, every paragraph of her speech, because myself, I took upon my time at least to go through her speech, and everything she said, she just cut across the 15 contents, cut across the life and breath of Liberia, even including the 3 branches of government, even the commoners, those of us who are taking ourselves to be the poor community, for ourselves in the poor community. So when she said Liberia have given more than what they have gotten from America, is true, because you can take, for example, companies that are in Liberia, that are American-based companies. We can think, we can go to the various job sites and see as to what are these developments there, commensurate with the livelihood of the Liberian people, and they are importing and providing that community, that environment, providing that kind of comfortable environment for Liberian people. You can talk about a Firestone out there, Firestone, Spot Ox, Firestone, do our rubbers here, export our rubbers, and Firestone is not producing anything at all in Liberia. So that alone is just a common example, and all of the other companies that America are in this country. And we are also informed that America gave the Liberia $153 million annually or above. As to whether America giving them money for a particular purpose and these purposes are being met, we care to wonder, because every time if you are a man in your house, you giving your wife money for the kids to get a kid's outfit, get a medical attention, and get the schooling and things in tight. And yes, you see the children are just sitting out in the community, they are not in good schools, they hardly find meal to eat, and you still the father there, and then you're taking no action or doing nothing about it, then your fatherhood need to be questioned. I said just to say that to America, that if you have been given to Liberia $153 million annually, and in time up to now, Liberia haven't been able to reach what I mean. I mean, the citizens in Liberia are suffering decimally, and the poverty rate is on a high increase. People highly find food to eat, like you see young men that could be productive in society, that would be able at least to go and acquire higher education and find themselves into some factories, companies, and other areas to produce and contribute to their country. They are all on motorcycle, they are being reduced to motorcycle, and even on motorcycle, their rights are being violated and denied. So we are saying that government officials that are debunking the statement or critiquing the speech of Dr. Pailey, we want to say that it is very much pitiful, and we regret having them as officials. Liberia is an independent state. When Liberia and America or other counterparts sit on the table to discuss global issues, they do not see Liberia as a charge to America.
First of all, I want to appreciate all Liberians for the level of cooperation and peace.
I am Peter, National Youth
serve as umbrella organization for all organizations of people with disabilities in the Republic of Liberia. As a civil society, we are there to speak on inclusion, we are there to speak on advocacy, we are there to speak on the rights of persons with disabilities in the Republic of Liberia. So it's my pleasure meeting with you again, and we hope to have a wonderful discussion in the interest of persons with disabilities in Liberia. Well, about Liberia, we ought to know that Liberia is very old for her age. Liberia is behind instead of it being ahead. Liberia need upgrading. Liberia need to rise. Liberia need to grow. And in order for this to happen, we should not use politics, or we should not use the politicking method to just continue to confuse the dream of Liberia. Look at Ghana right here. What is the age too much for Ghana? Ghana is developed. Look at other countries that used to come to Liberia to seek for advice. Look at those countries. Those countries that used to come to Liberia for advice, we are now running to them for advice. With that, I take my bite to say Liberia is too old for her age. Liberia should do better than where we are today. And if Liberia will do better, it has to start with the national legislature about law they pass. It has to start with the executive branch of government about enforcing. It has to start with the judiciary about interpretation of the law. But if those three branches of government do not do the right things, guess what? We as Liberians, we're going to remain seated at the same spot, and government go, government comes. We will remain the same. And it's not a sweat, but if we choose within ourselves as leader to make the difference for Liberia to get better, Liberia will get better. When it comes to the madam's statement, I truly believe it was not a statement to be looked at in order for the sachet affair to walk out, to truly be bold. It's not a statement for the sachet affair of the American embassy to walk out. But the sachet affair could have sat here, go and have a meeting, and have a second thought to say, well, Liberians now have been educated. Liberians now have been well informed. What can we do? The American Department of State, I went for their program. I spent 11 months in America, 2010, 2011. They invested into me, and when I came back, the investment they put into me, guess what? I will not fall anywhere to make an impact. All right? Even my government never incorporated me to say, oh, the American government make an impact in the life of the young man. They took him and carried him in America, and there's a need for us to stay with him and make things better for his life. All right? It is determination that brought me this far. If I was not determined, my brother, life would have been so horrible and difficult. But nevertheless, per the speech of the orator, this is what, when you listen to her, she said to the president, I know people stated that you should not invite me because I have sharp mouth, I'm frisky. You know, you even heard her talking about the yellow machine. I truly believe if she was biased, she could not have gone that far approaching the president in the other form. But to people, she has the mind in order for all Liberia to stand. Likewise, for America to also stand with Liberia. All right? Why am I saying this? You will get, for example, an international NGO that will come in Liberia. And that international NGO, when they come, they will send for expatriates, close to 15, 20 expatriates. They come to serve behind that same money. And when they are serving that money, some of our Liberians that may benefit, they can't even cross 500 American dollars. All right? And some common American that come from America to come and serve here, when you hear their budget line, you hear 15,000, 20,000 on an international NGO. While Liberians that work on that international NGO, some of them made 350, some of them made 500. When you make 1,000, which means you live by the grace of God. So Mrs. Pailey, speaking that way, I truly believe she don't mean it for the worse, but she meant it for the better. I agreed with her. She even came down to us as the citizen. Like some of us, when we come from the interior, we enter in the city now, you know what we can call the interior people? They are witchcraft. Oh yes. When you come from your village now, God permit you live few months in the capital city.
They will decide whether you are worthy of re-election. In the meantime, go to your districts and your counties and engage in quarterly.
Okay. So I think we've listened into what was stated. Can we mute ourselves, please? But one of the most important thing here is I want to state here before we start the discussion, because each of you will have 10 minutes to elaborate, 10 minutes only. But we want to take into consideration here also that prior to Mrs. Dr. Pailey being given the opportunity to serve as the orator, I wrote it here. She informed the president that many people advised the president not to invite her because, quote here, she said, that lady got sharp marvel. So, meaning that, because what I heard, it was alleged that when the president asked her, President Boakai asked her to give, that they wanted to read, I know President Boakai, but the staff involved to read her speech prior to her presentation. According to what I heard, it's not, I don't know, this is not factual. She said no. But if you see what she says in her speech, if you look at it, she said they informed the president that they get fresco, and still the president did not listen to the naysayers and still invited her. So let's take that into consideration while we go through the discussion. I think we'll first start off 10 minutes, and we want to hear from Dr. Davis to her point as to when it comes to this discussion, especially when it comes to the speech, while we all are muted.
Thank you, Lucy. You know, I've heard a lot about the speech and what Dr. Pailey is her name said. Pailey is her name. What she said. Uh, I think her speech was fantastic. I think personally, I think that was a great speech. I think that she addressed what needed to be addressed. Her speech was not to be taken personally. She addressed everything she thought was significant to address in her speech. In the reimagine Liberia. And if we would reimagine Liberia, like she said, you know, I have people sending me the speech and asking me what I thought and everything like that. And in between, I really never had the chance to look at the speech or even read the speech. I read part of it, but I took the time to listen to it, And she addressed everyone and everything she needed to address in her speech. And I know some people found it offensive, but I don't see what was offensive in the speech. And it's sad because we we grew up in a culture where and that still exists in Liberia. People are not free to express themselves. And if you express yourself, you are either silenced or you are looked at as a controversial person. Same thing here in the US. Those who keep quiet are very nice people. But if you rise up to speak the truth and to speak the truth in love, like the scripture says that we should do, then you become, quote unquote, a controversial person, even in our families. People want us to call right wrong and call wrong right. And if you don't do that, if you don't jump on the bandwagon, if you don't do what is supposed to be done or what they look at as the family tradition, then they look at you differently. I personally think her speech was she addressed everything she needed to address, going back to our historical background, um, and just addressing everything she needed to address. She addressed the government. She addressed the government officials. She addressed everything. I thought her speech was very, very great. And I don't know what the big fuss about it. I think she did not say anything to America that America wouldn't say to us. And she did not say anything about America that America would not say to us if that was the truth, So her speech was, I don't know why she getting all this criticism. It reminds me of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when he started his fight for equality in this country. There were a lot of oppositions he came against, but he just had to look forward. We are living in a time, and I thank God that God himself is raising up a generation of people, because maybe the former the past generation, people were afraid to speak the truth. But God is raising up a generation of people that will speak the truth. And let the truth be said. The scripture says, you shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So I think her speech was a great speech. She addressed everything I thought she needed to, everything she thought she needed to address. And I thought she did a fantastic job at doing that, and we should not be apologetic. A lot of people are being apologetic. Initially, when I heard about the speech and everybody were telling me their opinion of the speech, I could not make any significant contribution because I had not listened to the speech. But I have taken the time to listen to this speech. And when you are being your authentic self, there is nothing you should be sorry about. When you are speaking the truth, now when you're lying, then you should be sorry. But if you are speaking the truth and you care, and what I see from her, she does love her country. She doesn't live in the country, but she loves her country. All right? Just like us who live abroad here. Why are we taking the time to do what we are doing? Why some of us take the time to go to Liberia just about every year to do something there? Lucy, why are you taking the time to have the Liberian view, because even though you live abroad and by the grace of God, you live a comfortable life here, but you still love your country. It's about love of country. And if anyone is being their authentic self and speaking the truth, there's nothing anyone should be sorry about. You shouldn't be sorry about speaking the truth. And I feel like she spoke the truth in there. She addressed government officials. She addressed the legislatures. She addressed all of them, you know. So if what she said, America found it offensive, what she said about America, and they found it offensive, I mean, I'm sorry that they found it offensive, but she was just being her authentic self, and I don't see where the offense was. I thought her speech was a great speech, and I would back her any day, anytime.
Okay. Thank you so much. Before I move to Reverend Dr. Lloyd, I just want to also state here that I'm getting some information like according to some political analysts, they said that the 177th celebration highlighted an embarrassing beginning of the first Independence Day of the Boakai administration. And I think the response was the orator does not work for the Liberian government, and she is a private citizen and has her right to freedom. But then also freedom also when it comes to taking into consideration diplomatic protocols and the statement that Liberia has given more to America than America has. Uh, Someone was talking about the millions and billions of dollars that are being given to Liberia. uh, Ghana was giving same amount of money. Ghana is developed, but if you look at Liberia, all the funding that has been pulled into Liberia, if past government was serious, Liberia wouldn't be in the situation they are. So, Dr. Law, you can take that into consideration. Why we give you your 10 minutes. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Kier. And I just want to begin by congratulating all Liberians upon the celebration of 177 years. Those years, and we're due to give a critical assessment of those years, but given the fact that we have survived and we have strived for 177 years, is worth praise. And so we just want to thank all Liberians for keeping the banner and the flag of Liberia waving for those years. I also want to, as we specifically are looking at the Independence Day, the 177th Independence Day speech, just want to maybe congratulate the orator for that day for delivering the speech and for her scholarship. And as a Liberian scholar, we are proud, especially a female Liberian scholar, we are proud of our academic personal or may have been an expression of a personal opinion, but the context and the occasion was a national one. So basically, and that was a platform of Liberia. So therefore, any utterance at that occasion also make all of us as Liberian stakeholders to the content of that speech. And so therefore, the speech in general, basically, Dr. Pailey raised some very good points in that speech, where she talked about various pertinent issues concerning corruption. She talked about negative peace versus positive peace, which was crucial. And also the beginning part of a speech was basically words of reflection and admonition. But we also must understand that whenever there's an independence celebration, it's also a time of reflection. It's a time of critical analysis of the past, and a time for visioning, where we set the course for the future. So that's what that's the primary meaning of the Independence Day celebration. It's not the occasion to check the box or to come together and have merriment, but those three factors must be into play: reflection, critical analysis, and also visioning for the future. And so Dr. Peter addressed those issues, but I have a certain part of the speech that basically that did not resonate with me. Basically, although it may be your personal opinion, but basically, I just want to probably elaborate on those issues very quickly. The speech basically, although highly passionate, but it lacked what you call language register. And a language register was out of context. And what I mean when I say language register, what I mean was that usually at a platform like that, the speaker must have to modify the language. They had to modify the language register to be able to sing the level of formality, formality, right? The special level of formality according to the relationship to the audience and the intended purpose of the speech. So therefore, that is a formal occasion. So therefore, it must be characterized with a certain level of formality, right? Also, the posture of the speech, where she represented the proper posture and the body language was not appropriate to the occasion. Although it was passionately driven, the context and part of the speech was on point when it comes to realities in Liberia. She raised some very good point. I just want to clarify that. But the manner of delivery was incompatible to the prestige of the occasion. It's very important that we understand that, all right? Because you must understand that clarity affects projection and also affects the level of comprehension. So that's why you see a whole lot of controversy following this speech. So it's very important that we must be able to, on an occasion like that, as we are reflective, we must be considerate of the audience, which included our foreign partners. And we know that there may have been rough relationship between certain foreign partners, but that is a diplomatic forum, and everything else should be addressed in a diplomatic manner. It's good to express the truth, and it's good to be able to project a general sentiment of the public. Usually at those, but usually at the Independence Day celebration, and that actually may not be the place for that. Other occasions may have been the place for that. But that particular occasion, and like I said, the language register was incompatible with the context of the occasion, which was the Independence Day celebration and with foreign partners. So there's one of my observation, and others may differ, but based on my expertise and understanding, I basically want to raise that point. And I just also want to understand, raise the fact about the issue of quickly about the issue with Liberia and America relationship. All right, although there have been a rough relationship between Liberia and the United States from the onset of Liberia, from the infancy of Liberia and up to now, but the United States have been a key partner of Liberia, and we must understand the difference between dependence and independence. We must come to realize that Liberia is an independent country. Given that fact, we cannot blame a foreign partner for for our pitfalls and our mistakes. After the Civil War, Liberia, America gave foreign aid to Liberia in the amount of the excess of about $2 billion. All right, and the characterization of the exploitative character of Liberia, the characterization of the United States as being exploitative when it comes to relationship, is basically based on foreign aid. All right, it's based on government to government relations, right? You're talking about the bilateral relationship between two countries based on that. But then look at the other extra relationship, extraordinary relationship that Liberia has with the United States. Look at the benefit that Liberians have received. After the Civil War, many Liberians fled to the United States. Many Liberians have been educated in the United States. Liberians sent remittance to America and to Liberia, and Liberia in America, or the diaspora sent remittance to Liberia in the millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. The United States have been a refuge to many Liberians after the Civil War. Also, the United States gave over $163 million after the Ebola crisis, which was one of the largest donors to the Ebola crisis in Liberia. All right, and also there are other relationships that have been other aid that the United States have provided to Liberia over the years. There are certain different contractual agreements that are in play that the United States is providing, and so therefore we cannot blame the United States, because the United States is a nation on its own. So therefore it will negotiate based on its own interests, and in the negotiation, the partners will lose and gain in that negotiation. So we have to understand. So you go into a negotiation, you might go into a negotiation and with the notion that you will lose, but make sure that partner will lose equally. If you go in and negotiate at your own disadvantage, then you cannot blame the other partner for the agreement that transpired after that. So the Liberian government may have gone into agreement with the United States at a disadvantage, but Liberian officials who conducted those agreements and spearhead the agreements must be held responsible, especially the Firestone Agreement, right? The Firestone Agreement is a complete disaster, and you cannot blame the Firestone Company, which is a profit-driven institution, for that. You got to blame the Liberian government for agreeing with the contents of that agreement, because they were not conscientious about what the benefit that should come to their nation. They were only interested in their personal benefit, which they got. They were not interested in the citizens and the long-term benefit of Liberia. They were not interested in that. And so the problem with Liberia is not the United States. The problem with Liberia is what her colonial legacy, right? There are certain factors that I want to bring to play. Liberian colonial legacy, right? That one, the problem would be political instability and corruption. That's a problem with Liberia. Civil wars, right? The resource curse, which means that we have our resources have been cursed because we are not benefiting from our resources. Our leaders have poorly traded and made negotiations with our agreement, with those concession agreements that were made for the natural resources in Liberia. Also, one of the problems in Liberia is public health. It's a public health challenge. Global economic factors play a key role. Weak institutions and external interference, right? So we have to understand the internal factors and conditions of Liberia that have characterized its position at this time to be one of the poorest nations in the world. You cannot blame any nation for the condition of Liberia. We are an independent nation, and so therefore we must take the blame and responsibility. Until we start taking the responsibility for our own growth and social economic development, Liberia will remain at the same level as it is now. So we must start taking responsibility. We must be negotiating with the United States and any foreign partner based on the interests of Liberia, and make sure that the interests of Liberia suffice. Very important. And so we should not be, as an independent nation, we cannot blame any nation for that. All right. And so that's the stand, probably, basis I want to take. So therefore, if you're assessing the Liberian and the American Liberian relationship be on bilateral relationship, then probably you may be right on the exploitative nature of this relationship. But yes, making your assessment on the wholesome and the entire relational existence between Liberia and the United States, then you must be fair and succinct enough and transparent, because indirectly Liberia had benefited from the United States enormously, based on human capital development, based on intellectual intellectualism and education, because most of the highly educated Liberians today were educated in the United States, and most of those who served in the government in Liberia at very high level were educated in the United States, and so that educational benefit has been transferred to Liberia. And we are Liberians who have postgraduate degrees here in the United States, and eventually may go home to contribute. We have received our education here in Liberia on student loans that some of us will never pay back. So let us have a transparent assessment about the relationship in Liberia and the United States, and come to a fair conclusion when it comes to weighing cost and benefit. All right, we must be able to be clear with that. When it comes to country-to-country relationship, that we can discuss, that we can question. All right, but still, given the amount of aid that has been given versus the corrupt practices that have existed in Liberia over the years, we cannot blame the United States for our condition, because we have had the opportunity. And let me give one last point before I close. When it comes to the issue of independence and defiance, Liberia independence was not based on defiance. All right, although we defied the existing laws of the time that any nation would defy in order to proclaim its independence, when it comes to the economic and world economic crisis, and the internal strife, and also the economic status of that nation at the time. Those are circumstances that you will face, and you have to defy those circumstances to be able to declare your independence. But it's appropriate that we call July 26th Independence Day, and the reason why that the impetus for Liberian independence occurred in 1946. What happened in 1946? Maybe many Liberians don't know. But prior to that, in 1938, all of the colonies of Liberia, because there were several colonies in Liberia that merged together under the American Colonization Society in 1838. Right, so you have the Commonwealth in Maryland, the Commonwealth in other places of Liberia, plus the Commonwealth in Monrovia. They all came together and formed one. It came going to be the Commonwealth of Liberia, were formed with all the various settlements that were established by various abolitionist groups in the United States. So they have separate abolitionist groups, including Liberian, the American Colonization Society, that have a settlement in Monrovia area. So they all merged and came to be the Commonwealth of Liberia in 1838. All right, but in something crucial happened in 1846. After the Commonwealth of Liberia was founded under the American Colonization Society, when they merged, Liberia began to trade. The main income of Liberia came from export from what? From crops, right? So Liberia, the main source of income was for agriculture, the Commonwealth of Liberia at that time. But now the United States government, although did not officially recognize Liberia, but funded the Liberian government through the American Colonization Society. That's why Liberia and Monrovia were named after James Monroe. Why did they name Monrovia after James Monroe if the United States was not contributing to what the existence of Liberia at that time? So the United States Congress approved certain funds for a certain period of time that was supporting the infant Liberian government. But now and it came to a certain stage in 1846, the Liberian government, the American government, could not continue its existence. And also the American Colonization Society was getting bankrupt. They didn't have enough money to support the new colony. So what happened was that they encouraged the Liberian government to declare independence. And also what triggered that independence after they encouraged and built on the decline in the foreign aid that were coming to the Liberian government at that time, the Commonwealth received most of its revenue from custom duties. which anchor the indigenous traders and also the British merchants. So the bulk of Liberian revenue were coming from the taxes they levy on the indigenous traders and the British merchants. So therefore, the British government said, look, we cannot accept this tax from a private organization, which was the American Colonization Society. They said we cannot accept this tax from a private organization. You are not an independent nation, so how can you tax us for coming in? We'll only deal with the local traders and the local additional traders. So therefore, we're not going to pay you no taxes. So the Liberian government look at it, they're going to be losing that income. So therefore, the American Colonization Society advised them to declare independence. And then when they declared independence, they were a foreign nation. And then the British government and other foreign investors and traders now could trade with Liberia as an independent nation. That's what trickled the independence of Liberia. That's why they came together and said we have to declare independence now for our survival and for economic stability. That what led to the swift independence of Liberia. I will stop there and come in later. I think I'll go over my time. But we have to approach this logically. We also have to approach this with research and with authenticity and with empirical data. Basically, it's very important that we do that. And I will pause for that moment.
Thank you so much for such, very, very excellent input. And someone just stated that also that Independence Day should be a time for hope, unity, and not introducing divisive rhetoric, especially when they are unfounded. As far as they're concerned, most of the things that was said about America was unfounded, and there was no research poured into it. And I think every year, every time we issue, we always look at other countries. Also, someone is stating that when you talk about dignity must define us. If we look at what Dr. Lloyd just stated, if dignity must define us, should it be given to us, or should because if you want for someone to respect you in your home, to respect you in your home, you should do something to be respected. You should earn it in your country. That was someone just contributing, but they don't think that Liberia has done it. All the millions and billions of dollars that have been poured in Liberia, and Dr. Lloyd, this individual agree with you wholeheartedly from Liberia, somewhere in Sino, that what you said, you're so right. And every year for us to encourage collaboration and other countries coming in to redefine ourselves, to say, okay, this money you give to us, this is what we have done. But that is not happening. But yet instead you call someone to come and just say things, unfounded accusation. That's the term the person used. So having said that, if dignity must define your home, who should define that? Is that your neighbor or yourself? Mr. Felix, the floor is yours.
Wow. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm loving this discussion. And Dr. Caroline and Reverend Laura has pointed out, and I knew we're going to have differences of opinions here, and I'm about to add mine. But to immediately answer your question about dignity must define us, I think that part of the speech is a good positive phrase. We all want to, I will hope we all strive for to be good citizens, to be our better selves. We want to be known as good people, and that word dignity sums up a lot of stuff. It sums up the absence of corruption, right? It sums up the absence of hate for our brothers. It sums up cleanliness. Our house must be clean at all times. Courteousness, and so. But let me go into my comment, my 10 minutes, and probably I'll be shorter than Reverend Lord for sure. Um,
Thank you.
I want to start by applauding Dr. Pailey for the speech in the sense that, one, as a female, and knowing the hurdles females have had to cross over the years to get to where they are, for her to achieve the level of education that she has, it's no small feat. So I congratulate her for that. Um, I I believe she's also known as an activist. Um, Before the speech, I had not heard about her, so this was certainly a coming out party for her, I think. And I would say I listened to the speech. Overall, I thought she hit on a lot of key issues that are important to us as a country. And I'm going to highlight some of the positives, I think, of the speech and note some of the things I tend to disagree with. And I think across the board, you will find in some areas I agree with some of the panelists, and in others I disagree. But to Reverend Law point, I think the tenor of the speech in and of itself, I agree with him. I thought um, it showed the youthfulness of her and certainly the activism. I think this was, to me, it was clear this was a moment that she was hoping for, right? And she had the audience she always wanted, probably, and probably was over exuberant or overexcited and did not truly consider the way in which she could relay the message. Because again, to our last point, there's so many, she could use their same words in different ways, right? That would not have engendered the type of controversy that it did coming out of the speech. So some of the positives I want to highlight. She talked about our forefathers defying the odds and declaring independence, which we know is true. Um, Being the first country to declare independence back then um, was no small feat. Um, but we are 177 years old, I like to say today, and we don't have much to show for it. She talked about, she addressed the sins of corruption that is our society, and that's one thing that's always on the forefront of our minds as Liberians. So I applaud her for that. Um, she highlighted the imbalance in our economic makeup, where foreign businesses dominate our market, and talk about something being done about that. And again, that's something we all are hoping will change in the near future. That our government will try to do something about that. Um, but here comes some of the things that I tend to disagree with. One, and I like to keep my stuff simple, so I'll preface this by saying when we hold our birthday parties, it's a time of celebration, typically a time of reflection, personal reflection on where we've come from, what the last years meant to us, and what have we accomplished to this point. But for a large part, it's a time of jubilation and celebration. And in a lot of ways, I see the celebration of an independence as that. It's a time of merrymaking, but again, also a time of inner reflection on where we may have gone wrong and how we can right the past. So I look for an orator, a keynote speaker to come and inspire, inspire hope, inspire a vision for the future that will get the country thinking, get our leaders thinking, get the laymen, even the children thinking. I think a speech of that nature should speak to every fiber of our society. And to that, I think I would say simply one, I felt the speech was too long. It could have been a lot shorter than that. Um, I think she had a lot to unpack and try to do it all in one, but she could have cut it down a little bit. I thought it was not tailored to the common man, and in our society where we are largely illiterate in the majority, it's very important to break down those messages so that everybody understand. You know, I get frustrated when I see us talking these gatherings and try to be politically correct and show that we know book and try to use all these big terminologies. There's a place and time for those things. But when you are dealing with a society that you're trying to rebuild, it's important that you reach the masses. And so I think if from the government on down, every time we speak to the public, we should be very cautious of the words we use, right? The big terminologies, they sound good, but they don't reach the people. And so your message is unclear in a lot of ways. Uh, she listed a lot of specifics to the government, right? And she was very definitive in telling them, do this, that, and the other, if you read the speech. And I felt that it should have been presented in a more of a suggestive way instead of a directive, right? Because no one has all the answers. And so make it a suggestion, make them suggestions. And because there may be others with ideas that are better that could also be considered. I thought the way she addressed President Boycott was just highly questionable for an event like that. Yes, there's been some missteps, but I thought her comments to him, around some of the missteps, which are arguable, right, were borderline disrespectful at that event. Again, part of my frustration is a lot of times we don't have all the facts. We don't know what goes behind the scene in the negotiation rooms and all of those things. And we tend to come out in these public settings and just make blanket statements as if we were there. We saw what happened. We heard what happened. And we started to point fingers. And so whenever you don't have all the facts, I always want people try to tailor your comments in a way that leaves room for escape, right? And one of the biggest item of the day, attacking what I consider our biggest donor in the United States. Those comments, again, to Reverend Lloyd's point, are debatable and highly questionable. Do we have the empirical data? Yeah, we all, we all have what I call dinner table talks about the ills of society and what the U.S. may or may not have done over the years that were wrong, right? And we know there are places and times for those things. And one of the biggest one, of course, is the example of Firestone. But I have it here in my notes, and the Reverend Lawrence point, he talked about it. If you want to attack, the U.S., you must consider all of the facts. You must consider it holistically. And one of the very simple one that always go unnoticed that we never talk about are the hundreds of thousands of us that have been given green cards and citizenship to this place to allow us to raise a family and be as successful as we are today, that we can give back, to our country. If you were to just value that alone, right? Forget about the remittances, but value where we are as a people. Those of us who are here, the many doctors and lawyers and engineers and professionals. I mean, can you imagine what that is? It's a blessing you know, that we don't tend to consider a lot when we go after the U.S. And then when we consider the U.S., the other bigger picture, as we tend to cast a blame, is the bigger world order, right? As a nation, you have to acknowledge there's a bigger world order out there, right? That you have to choose one or the other, right? You have, as you all know, the simplistic piece back in the USSR days, capitalism versus socialism. To a large degree, that's still the ideological divide in the world order. And so, as a country, say what you may, we still have to decide which side we want to land on. Are we going to be a capitalistic type society, practice democracy? And if so, that means we're going to naturally align our alliances with the United States and its allies. Okay, or are we going to support, authoritarianism and socialism and that kind of stuff? And then, if so, then hey, choose China and Russia and those types of countries. So we must consider all of those things as we make comments like these, because it's it hurts on a day like that to bring about such comments, and have your most biggest supporter, I would say, on the diplomatic side of things, walk out of the event. And so I
Yep.
didn't think that was a good thing. And so overall, there were some positive, but a lot to learn from. And I'm sure Dr. Pailey will reflect on what's been said and probably do a better job in some areas, or she may stick to her guns. But which again is her opinion to do so. And so I'll rest there for now, Madam Chair. But
Yeah. Thank
like,
you so much. It's funny in the chat, people are agreeing with you. Like someone just stated that let's check how many Liberians or Africans in other countries that are doing a lot in those countries and going to school, like you all have alluded to. Only in the United States, you can see a lot of Black people there doing very well. Selma Scott stated that, uh, thank you, Dr. Lloyd. So this is good and great point that she was not very tactful. And someone is watching from Ninth Street, and so people are saying like, um, we should. It was not balanced to say it was not balanced, and it was not a. There are a lot of good things for Liberia to do, and a lot of people have said what she just said, but it has not been executed because a lot of people say, "Oh, Liberia need to change. We need to do this. We need to build schools. We need to take care of hospitals." But nothing has been done. So, as far as some people are concerned, all what she said has been said before. The only thing is the way she said it when it comes to diplomatic protocol that should have been taken into consideration. But anyway, she stated that people advised the president about her, but the president did not listen. So that alone, people are agreeing with you, Mr. Wilson, that the way she addressed the president, even when somebody said it in confident to her or to the president, for her to have just brought it in that diplomatic setting, because in every aspect, even in healthcare, there's certain requirements need to be taken into consideration. But I think this is a big lesson for the government that such a diplomatic and not a freelancer where you can just go in the street and have public debate and talk the way you want to talk, but this is for the president of the Republic of Liberia. That's just somebody's opinion, and that's what they perceive from the whole thing. So we'll just quickly give I'm sorry, this is Mr. Isaac Cato, and I see you on the platform. So we'll just give you 5 minutes to just contribute to this discussion, and then we'll go around the table. We'll give Dr. Davis 5 minutes each, and then we'll come back to talk about our takeaway. But we have one question after Mr. Carter, Isaac Carter. You can briefly say something about yourself briefly. But one question I think everyone should be pondering about. That the question is: do we think this speech should have been pointed to the Liberian situation more than the United States. Do you think it should have restated in a way that, like telling America that you have given billions of dollars, you should stop giving money? Because I think the fault of America is they've gave a lot of money and they should stop. So that's the person perspective. So let's just be thinking about this question as we give Mr. Kato 5 minutes to just give his perspective.
Okay, thank you, Madam Kier. I actually came on today just to listen. I didn't know I was going to be a speaker, but thank you for giving me the
You
five
want to
minutes.
ask question? If you don't, I mean,
No,
you can ask them question.
no, that is fine because I actually have an opinion on this matter. So I will use my 5 minutes to kind of share my opinion. But just thanks for the opportunity and giving me a platform. As a matter of fact, I did not listen to like the speech live. I was traveling, but I'm like the moment I landed, everything was blowing off on social media. So I was compulsory drawn to go and watch and listen to the speech so I could intelligently speak about it. So I mean, and just given what has happened over the past 3 weeks, the only thing that I could really think about is what a missed opportunity. I say it's a missed opportunity because number one, and this goes to Mr. Wilson's point. I've never heard of her before, and I think many people may not have heard of her before. So this was an opportunity to really introduce herself to a larger audience. So I was just thinking about that, and that was the first thing that came to my mind. What a missed opportunity! And number two, I just want to align myself with Reverend Lloyd's argument, and that is, even if this speech was good, this setting was very wrong. It was a diplomatic setting, and I have listened to people like make the argument that oh, she was a private citizen. No, you may be a private citizen, but you were at a national event, at a state sanctioned event, and you were the national orator. So even if you are a private citizen, you were not there in a private capacity. And I just think that when people make that argument, I just wonder if they listen to like the other side of that. And and that's kind of just what I think about that. But then also too, what was her aim? Was the aim because I really don't believe like the aim was to get the charge of affairs to like walk out of there. So maybe it was a mistake again in not reading like the room. And I just thought that when that statement was made and everything that has happened there, it has absolutely overblown everything else that she said, which was actually good. Speaking about the corruption, talking about like the legislator and like holding some government, I'm like official to task, and about the imbalance as far as how Liberians are treated versus foreigners. All of those other salient points that she made has all been overshadowed but what she said and the outcome of that. So that's what I say it was a missed opportunity. And I also think too, it may have been a missed opportunity on the government's part by not vetting the speech. You cannot bring someone to speak at a national event. And because now nobody, I mean, everything that she is saying, people are associating that with the administration, even if that's not the administration's point of view. So I think it was a mistake if she was not vetted. Again, I'm not sure, so I can speak to that. But if she was not, which all indications are she wasn't, then I do think that was a mistake in not vetting her. You know, just to make sure we're not going to control everything you say, but hey, there are certain guidelines because of the setting and the platform it was going to be in. And if that speech had been given at a different occasion or in a different venue, the reception of it would have been completely different. And the message that she was trying to convey, I think, would have come across. And the takeaway from that wouldn't be, why is it so controversial? But look, she called people to task. So I just think it was a missed opportunity by both sides, both by the orator and both by the government, by not doing the vetting. And then lastly, too, and this is what I was trying to get across, is what exactly was her aim? Was the aim to call the U.S. to task, or was the aim to task the Liberian government? Because up to now, when you look at the reaction from like both sides, well, I can't even determine what the aim was. And if so, did she accomplish her goal? I don't think the goal was accomplished either. And that the administration accomplished its goal, and which I don't think it was either. So this goes back to the overall point that I made earlier, that it was a missed opportunities on all parties involved. And even though we always say people should speak truth to power, that is true, but always be aware of the setting because you never know just how you're speaking truth to power. Other people may react to your truth, and your truth may not necessarily be the overall truth. So the same Bible that gives us the ability that the truth will set us free also caution us to use the spirit of discernment and to be aware of our environment. And these are just opportunities that I really think we should focus on. I'm like the next time. But as far as the orator goes, I mean, she is well accomplished in her field, and she is somebody that we all should be proud of as Liberians or as Liberians living abroad. But I really believe this was a missed opportunity, and that setting was just the wrong place to have done it. And the message again, look how it has been overshadowed. 3 weeks later, what are we talking about? We're not talking about all the other good things she said. We're still talking about a controversial. I mean, we're still talking about a controversy that followed that in the setting in which it was done. So I must iterate and allow myself with my previous speaker that that was the wrong venue to have done that. And no, she was not a private citizen at a national event. As the national orator, you are speaking for the nation. And if the administration wants to align themselves with you, then I think that may have been an error on their part, but not properly vetting her. So maybe going forward, people should just take that into consideration. So that would be my 2 cents on that. And I think I may have exceeded my
Yeah.
5 minutes,
No,
but
it's okay. It's okay. That was very good.
but
I
I'll
just want
pause
to
there.
state that I will send you all the original speech. I think I sent it from the executive mansion. Within the speech, it is written. People inform the president not to invite her. It is in the speech because she said the people told the president that that lady in Liberian English, that lady got sharp mouth is in her speech. So that means the president was informed about her sharp mouth, according to what she said. I'm not saying it, I'm quoting from what she stated. So she said it. So it is a known fact that the administration was aware. But the response we got, I don't know, this is factual, but it's on the news that the president, the administration is saying that she spoke as a private citizen, a private person. She got a freedom of speech disregarding diplomatic protocols because there are consequences. They're different in the setting. So I will turn it over now. Just 5 minutes each, please. Let's respect that 5 minutes each. Just give a little brief something, and then we will come around for the last time. Uh, what do we think that this speech should have been? Should it be pointed more to us and reconciling more partnership, stating to America or even the countries that were there that how they want for negotiations should be to be made? How Liberia, in fact, we need to sit down and then rethink ourselves, rebrand ourselves, make up our mind. What do we want? How do we want for people to treat you? Because someone will treat you the way you want to be treated based on your action. So that's just from someone. I'm just quoting them. So we'll go to Dr. Davis, 5 minutes, please, and 5 minutes each. And then we'll come to another round where everyone can give their answer this question and give and then share what you think people should take away from this particular discussion. Dr. Davis, the floor is yours. 5 minutes.
Dr. Davis is probably muted.
Dr. Davis, I'm not hearing you. Okay. So what we'll do here, while Dr. Davis is trying to fix her phone, time is fast. Are you there now? Okay. So let's go quickly to Dr. Lloyd to answering the question. What do you think the speech should have been? Should it be would have been pointed out to the government, not just this current leadership, but past leadership, to Liberians instead of pointing to our long-standing partners or any partner for that matter.
Yes, definitely. I believe that this speech should have been directed to Liberians, specifically talking about um, our uh, our national aspirations and as pertain to our goals and objectives uh, during our independence. So the national objective from the onset of the country should have been analyzed, and also the speech should have critically looked at the internal social economic system in Liberia and give advanced solutions towards that. The speech itself, the context and other part of the speech were highly impressive. Um, and just want to take away that, and because and I also commend her scholarship as I stated. But one thing here, also a part of the speech that talked about redefining Liberian citizenship, and I also probably need clarity on that. I will have to read the speech again with that. But she gave what she called talking about the Liberian citizenship triad, and describe the pinnacle of the triad and as interactive, and the two baseline of the triad, passive and active. But basically, she talked about the definition of citizenship being changed after the Civil War. I want to differ with that. I believe that we should not redefine Liberian citizenship. Maybe after the Civil War, the nature of citizenship may have changed. Basically, in regards to the characterization of Liberian citizenry, the aspirations, or also the diminishing national pride that occurs. So those are characteristics of citizenship, but those are not defining characteristics of citizenship. We cannot say that, okay, we have to define Liberian citizenship. The nature of citizenship cannot be defined, or did not change after the Civil War. Well, only the characterization of citizenship that changed. All right. So all these the triad basically talk about attributes of citizenship, but not definitions of what it means to be a citizen. And so that's a clarification I want to provide when it comes to the concept of the Liberian citizenship triad, right? So and so basically I wanted the speech to focus on the diminishing national pride of Liberia. One of those things that we're looking at. To talk about that, and talking about corruption. She talked about corruption, and also be able to talk about the building of institutions in Liberia. I know she talked about the very important point she brought up here, and I have a copy of the speech here. She talked about prioritizing both national building and state building, which is very good. And she talked about the merger of both national building and state building to be in consonance with our developmental goals, which I think is very good, because you cannot separate nation building from state building. It have to be prioritized at equilibrium, basically.
Okay.
So I will stop there, and then I will give my conclusion when the time comes. Thank you very much, Madam Kia, and thank you for the
Thank you.
panelists for brilliantly accessing this speech.
Yes. Thank you so much. I don't know, Dr. Davis, are you ready now? Are you on so that you can answer this question? Where you think this speech should have been pointing to instead of pointing at our partners, regardless of whether they're United States or.
Hold up, let me fix this. I try to use my I try
You're
to
fine
use
now.
yeah, I try to use my computer, my laptop, but for some reason the voice the sound isn't working on that, so I gotta get back on my phone. But that's why I like the idea of having a discourse, because when we have a discourse, everybody has a different opinion on the same topic, and that's what a intellectual discourse should be like. I don't know why, and I do agree with all of my colleagues that uh, the forum, all right, or the occasion for this for some of the things she mentioned was was not the proper place. And I hear people say, I was looking for her to say this and to say that and to address that. And as I said in my speech earlier, in my statement earlier, I think her speech was a comprehensive speech. She started from way back prior to our independence and she came forward to where we are. The speech was very comprehensive. Okay. When she talked about and I don't know why we are zeroing in only on what she said, or why is what she said about America has created a controversy. Okay. Was she supposed to say over there? I don't know. And I don't know what was in her head as a well-rounded, educated person. You know, maybe she thought, while some people look at it as an opportunity missed, some people, she looked at it as an opportunity for her to say, like Felix said, maybe these were things she was waiting, wanting to say a long time ago. But I was looking at the speech, and the main thing we said, a lot of people said, she said Liberia, Liberia has given more to America than America has. And when we hear stuff like that, we zero in on the monetary part of everything, you know. But because we were not in her head and we have not spoken to her after her speech, maybe she has something else in mind. It's not that our country has given more money to the United States, you know. For those of us who came to the United States and live in the United States, we love the United States. I'm an educator in this country. I have been since 1999. I've been educating children, and some of the kids that I've educated, they're out of college and they see me and they're greeting me. So we love the United States and we are grateful for the blessing we have to be in the United States. That's what makes the United States the free country of the world. But also United States honors freedom of speech, you know. And yes, it was first thing when Lucy called me a few days ago for us to discuss this prior to getting on the thing. I really was not interested in, you know, the speech and everything. And then because even after the day she spoke, somebody has sent the speech and all of that. But I just had a lot going on, so I did not have the time to look at it, you know. But the first thing I said, and I agree with others, was if on a stage like that, the government should have taken the time to look at the speech. I don't know if anyone did. Maybe they did, and they didn't find anything offensive in that. You know, she talked about how America was one of the last countries to recognize Liberia. Those were things maybe that are burning things to her. And I think she had the right to express what she was feeling. And I don't think that the government may have just asked her to speak and nobody looked at the speech at an occasion like that. I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think maybe they felt whatever she expressed in there were things that you know, that she felt strongly about, and maybe they were in agreement. That's why they allow her to speak that. But I don't want us to. I feel like we should not zero in only on what she said about America that appears to be offensive, you know, to our American partners and also to some of us, because if the truth be told, Liberians have been educated all around the world. One thing, the good thing, I believe, just like when COVID came, COVID brought the bad, but it also brought some good things. Now, a lot of people can work remotely. There's always some good in it. The good thing about the Liberian Civil War, if there was any good, we spread all around the world. Yesterday, I was on the phone speaking with my nephew in Australia, who is in charge of a huge international thing. Liberians are being educated all around the world. And I don't want us to just focus on, oh, what this young lady said about the United States. We are not against the United States. I think all of us here are for the United States. But if somebody has to wants to express what they are feeling, I think they should have the freedom to say what's on their mind. And I don't know if it helps us to just zero in on that aspect of the speech, as a talking point. What's about all the other things that she said? Do we think it's right? Why can we take it from there to say, okay, she said this, and this is what we need to do to improve the country. This is what we need to do to advance the country. So for me, I like to stand on the other side of everything and say that she thought those things through. She said what she had to say, and many people feel like that occasion was not the proper occasion to express it. But it is said that opportunities comes once, and maybe she thought this was her opportunity to say what she wanted to say. Now the people that are in her life that offer her guidance, they will go back and say, hey, you, like we are saying here, you say XYZ, but this is what we thought, but I just feel like she was just expressing what she was feeling in her heart. And for us to say I think she was supposed to address this, and I think she was supposed to address that. She knew exactly what she wanted to address, and that's what she addressed. And we should give her credit for it.
Okay, so thank you so much. I think everyone stated a lot of good things that she did. It was well thought through. Every panelist here stated most of the things that she said that were in place, especially when it comes to Liberia. Everyone on this platform stated it, and I just want to say thank you. I think the discussion were well balanced, but based on the Liberian view, want to look at uh, the reason why America walked out, and we wanted to look at it differently. And I think even the speakers from Liberia, the pre-recorded speakers from Liberia, also stated that the speech was good. They stated that, and I just wanted to play it to see that some of the Liberians, the way they are thinking, because it, like the other speaker, he stated that even though America is giving all this money, but he felt that America should have gone to Liberia and make sure that the money is used for the purpose, because they are not going to school. So should America go and be maybe administering the money and making sure that the president or whoever takes the money, or go there and make sure that the money is used for this purpose? Maybe that's some of the suggestions she should have made. But I think everyone on this platform talks about the pros and the cons, and I think this particular discussion was excellent. It was well balanced. Having said that, I'm going to go quickly to Mr. Felix Wilson for his 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I just want to quickly follow up and let Dr. Caroline know that I hear her, and I think she has a point. I just tend to think that on a platform, when given a platform like that, one must be very sure about the presentation and leave nothing up for interpretation, right? Whatever you present should be clear and concise, and there should be no wondering whether it was just something based off a personal or emotional or other. So, on that note, I think to answer the question, in my opinion, the message should have been directed to us as Liberians inwardly, challenging us to call on our inner better selves to be better at everything we do. And when I say challenging us to do that, I mean from the president on down to the children, the youth, right? We all need to do better. We cannot say we're an independent nation and depend on others to come and do it for us. We have to be smart about what we do. I tell people we talk about we can be very headstrong and badmouth the U.S. and other allies and say, "Oh, we can do it because we have all the natural resources." Well, guess what? You have all the natural resources, but you don't have the means to mine them. You still have to negotiate. You still have to partner, right? So it's not. We're not saying go it alone, but go it with integrity. Prepare yourself. Think about what you want to be as a nation, right? And prepare yourself accordingly. Now is the time to build the institutions, as Reverend Lloyd said, that will guide us into the future. Okay? What do we want to be known for? I mean, again, our resources should dictate that, right? We have beautiful beaches. So we definitely want to have a tourism industry that's thriving. We have iron ore and diamond, I mean, and gold, right? So we need to invest, in the engineering types that will utilize that to the advantage of our country. We have beautiful forests, right? We can develop one of the best, what you call it, a zoo, right? Where there will be an admiration of the world that people will want to come and see. We have some of the rarest animals in our forests that we can make use of. So there are things we can do, but let's not fool ourselves and say we're going to do it alone. No man is an island. We work in a world where you have to partner, but be good at something that somebody else will want, and vice versa. And that's how you engender trade that will benefit your people. But we've got to start from within. We have to build up our tax system. How many of our people are already paying taxes today? It's, I say we laugh around here in the US and talk about how easy living is back home. And you go and all you have to do is build your house and you're fine. But guess what? It shouldn't be that easy. We should be paying taxes, right? Because that's what we need to uphold and grow our economy, right? We should be paying a fair wage to our people, all right? And it starts from us, and I call on us in the diaspora to think about that when we go back home and we're trying to start businesses and hiring people. Let's not nickel and dime our people. Pay them a living wage. Yeah, you have to run a
Okay.
profitable business, but don't take advantage of them because they're in need. Pay them what they deserve. And so again, I think the message should have been one directed to us internally to call on our better selves, our better angels, to empower our young ones, inspire them to do better, and to challenge our leaders to do better, and to
Okay.
challenge diaspora to do better. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Quickly, someone is really, really saying, she said, correct, Felix, they should have been no there should have been no ambiguity in the orator's speech. Be clear, and she had to be succinct. And somebody stated that, someone also stated that, I don't agree with you. Um, that was not the forum to speak one's mind. No, Dr. Davis, stop that. Someone is saying that. And also, someone stated that, she said the War and Economic Crime Court, she said Liberia must be the chief sponsor, and they should fire the How you got it? The director, I think they have a new director. Liberia must be the chief sponsor and the architect of this court. I mean, she provided some guidance as to how we have to be transparent, accountable, and stuff responsible. But can we be a chief sponsor when they talk about war and economic crime code? So someone was saying that can we be the judge? Can we be the how you call it? The plaintiff and the judge? So that's just a question. As we move quickly to to Mr. Kato with your 5 minutes, and then after that we just talk about a takeaway from this discussion.
Again, thank you, Madam Chair. And yes, and then just to answer that question, but before I do that, let me just clarify the point I was made earlier. What I was trying to get across was not a castigation of the orator at all. And again, as I stated, there were a lot of good things in the message she was trying to get across. But 3 weeks later, anything she may have been trying to get across has been overshadowed by things that preceded that. So that's where the missed opportunity comes into place. It wasn't a personal castigation or criticism of her at all. It was just the venue, the entire missed opportunity. And just to make that clear, to answer your question, how I see it and how I view it, having gone back and listened to her speech and actually read the speech, I think that message should have been directed inward. And by inward, I mean towards us Liberians. And so instead of it being a message of calling other people to task, it should have been a message of empowerment for us. And to Mr. Wilson's point, we're quick to brag about us being the first independent nation. We're quick to brag about our pride and about being Liberia, about being truthful, about being strong. But yet, this 177 years, what have we gotten to show for it? You know, yes, it is true. We went through that devastating civil war that has impacted so many of our lives. But since we've gotten away from that, what are we doing now to empower ourselves? So to me, that what I got from that message was a time for self-reflection. Let us stop blaming others and expecting others to come in our house and clean our house for us when we sometimes purposely, sabotage ourselves. You know, just for example, I was in Liberia this gone Christmas, and I was in at Waterside, and I went there with a group of guys from here in Liberia. From here, and just to be honest, these guys well educated, some Ivy League grads and like grads from like the academy and stuff. But we all being from Liberia, going over there, and these guys were bargaining with people, even though the prices they're showing them was a fair price, but they were bargaining them down to the point of mere exploitation. And there was no need for that. You will not do that here in the States. When you see a struggling mother selling you something, and just because she says it's $5, but you want to get it for $1 because you know she hasn't sold anything for that day, then how can you then turn around and try to blame others when you yourself, just in that example alone, are exploiting the same people you care so much or you claim to care so much about? So where is this self-reflection in what it is that we're doing? So thank you for giving us this platform, Madam Kier, to speak and get some of these messages across there, because like many people here, I go to Liberia almost every year to do some charity work, and like we do scholarships all over the country. It started in Nima, but it is now like all over the place now, where we're doing these little scholarships and sending people to school and trying to do some things so our female sisters don't get exploited at night. And all of these things that are happening, I think that's, the nutshell should be what we should be trying to do on a grander scale, instead of always trying to blame others for our faults. Maybe it is time that we say, if we're going to brag about 177 years, maybe from now to 2030, let Liberia climb itself out of number 3 on the poverty list to not being in the bottom 50. What about that? What about setting actual tangible goals and working towards achieving that? When you try to go ahead and build something small in Liberia, there are so many government red flags that you have to go through and people that you have to bribe if you don't know anybody. What does this do? How does it entice anybody to come back and develop when you are coming to develop your own God in power want to exploit you? And then you turn around and you blame a foreign government for that. No, it is not. You know, some of the exploitation that's happening there are happening by our own people. You go buy land just like I'm dealing with now. This land has been sold 5 times. Who's to blame for that? You know,
America?
exactly. Are we to blame like America because we're selling land 5 times to like 5 different people? And then you go to a court system and then you stay in like the docket for 3 years and then like your case never get heard. But if you put something in I mean, if you put something like in a brown envelope and then like your case get moved to the top, who are we to blame for
Yeah,
that?
thank you.
You
Yeah.
know, so let's do some self-reflection. I guess is the point I'm trying to close on. But
Yeah, so
self-reflection.
thank you so much. So Mrs. Summer Scott, just she said you are right, Mr. Carter. She said a lot of good things, but the aspect of about America overshadowed the entire speech. The what she said about America, and a lot of the people are saying that she said a lot of good things, you know. But I mean, said things that people have said before over and over, but we've done nothing about what should be done. So I think right now we should talk about executing what everyone has stated years ago. And there are a lot of things going on in Liberia that is so frustrating, and everyone knows. So we shouldn't just sit and say, everything she said was okay. I mean, yeah, she said a lot of good things that everyone is saying that we've discussed on this particular platform. Lots and lots of meaningful things that we should be executing now. Because a lot of things that are going on shouldn't be going on if we're really learning from it. So what we're gonna do right now, we're gonna go right away. I will start with Dr. Lloyd. To we know we have a lot of listeners, and I think we have to revisit this particular topic again. Uh, and we will. I think we have a lot of listeners, and people are already pouring questions, but time is fast spent. We have only 10 minutes more. So what we're gonna do is, what do you think? If I'm listening, I mean Liberia, because I don't know whether the layman in Liberia understood the speech, but there's another way. Maybe it'll be interpreted in the various colloquia and our various dialect, and then our Liberian colloquia. A lot of people are talking about even the aspect that she was fanning herself, and the way the sound she was making, like Dr. Lloyd said, a gesture and everything. But in Liberia it was hot. Somebody said because maybe it was hot, and she didn't have no fan, but whether that was the appropriate way of doing it. I mean, people are looking at it differently because, as we stated, Liberians are educated, they're exposed, they know what is right, they know what is good, and they know what is wrong. So we'll go quickly to say, I'm listening. What can I take away from this discussion thus far? Because I know the last Sunday in the month of August, we're going to visit this particular case again. What we're going to be looking at to educate Liberians who think that this was the right forum and they were the right people she was alluding to. So we'll start with Dr. Lloyd. Dr. Lloyd, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I also want to thank the contributors. I just want to re-emphasize the fact that we are providing an analysis of the speech and a balanced analysis. So that means that we are also giving kudos to Dr. Pailey for her scholarship, and also for being a very highly educated Liberian female, and also for even accepting to give the speech. And the content of the speech had a lot of good messages for Liberia. And I also stated that the beginning of the speech was full of aspiration and admonition for Liberians. And I read the speech, and a lot of good things in there, and I wish I stated. But in common terms, and for the layman in Liberia, if you are giving a very good gift to your father, or you're bringing a very good gift home, you must put it in a presentable package, right? So regardless of whether the content of that gift was good or not, the package also shows a whole lot, and it speaks millions, right? Especially if you give it to your father or your mother, right? You can give it in the package that's unpresentable, right? Maybe you give your mom a nice cell phone. Well, be in a nice package also. But you put it in the package that's unpresentable, your mother will have to make a comment on that package. Doesn't mean she don't appreciate what is in there, but still, make a comment. So in simple terms, I don't want to describe the speech, right? The speech was good, but the packages came in probably I want to say was unpresentable. right? And so basically, what the takeaway here basically is that when it comes to Liberia Independence Day and oration or the national speaker must give due diligence to the occasion. And so therefore it's a prestigious occasion. It's an occasion that we want our foreign partners to come in and be inspired to enhance their partnership with our nation. All right. Liberia is a small country. It's a poor country. So therefore, even if we are hurting at certain areas, there's a diplomatic way to communicate that. And also on the contract table, on the negotiation table, that one we should be able to express our dissatisfaction and be able to advance our interests over the interests of our negotiating partner. Very important that we take away from that. Also, we don't want to invite guests into our home and have the guests to walk out of the home when it comes to our birthday party, in simple terms. So therefore, these are things to be cautious of. And another thing is that the Liberian government should be able to vet all the speeches that are made on Independence Day, because the Liberian government do not want to ruin their relationship with their foreign partners, which when and the contribution of these partners are crucial to nation building. All right. So therefore, these things are very important. And also, Dr. Petty wants to, and she's right by expressing how she felt and bringing up certain issues. But no, she a writer. Put it in writing. Read a book about that. All right. And it will reflect your own opinion, but not at a national venue for you to do that. And last thing before I close, I just want to add to some of the contributions the United States have made to Liberia. Right. We have 129.6 million that have been provided in non-emergency aid to Liberia, right? And about half of which was for health, right, to improve the health sector in Liberia. We also have the Millennium Challenge Corporation, MCC, engagement for 5 years, which total amount of $256.7 million, right? That's a compact. Then also we have the support for the armed forces of Liberia, training, equipping, and advising and professionalizing the Liberian army, right? So all these other support that have been coming to Liberia, both in human capital development and also physical infrastructure development is very crucial. And lastly, I think going forward, most of the aid that be coming to Liberia should come in the form of a critical infrastructure development instead of giving just grant, but critical infrastructure development, like building roads, building schools, building hospitals, building recreational facilities and institutions. I think these and the Liberian government should be able to have these aid come in those forms instead of coming just in grants. Otherwise, given the nature of our country and given the corruption that has been ingrown into our national society and into our consciousness, we will not develop if the aid that comes to Liberia, but not arranged in these forms that I have listed. So that's the takeaway I want to I will have for this, and those are the admonition and words of encouragement I want to provide to the Liberian people. We must be independent. We must think independently, and we begin to find out how we can be contributors to nation building instead of showing out our hands constantly for aid.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for that. You heard the takeaway by Dr. Lloyd, and someone is stating that this is so true. We should start blaming other people. When you invite somebody to your house, you can't go make them to leave and not to want to come back because we are not to that stage to say we got money. The most important thing, like people need to employ qualified people who know how to do the work to do it, because someone the recording we listened to, the individual was saying that he came to America on a scholarship, he went back and he didn't get no job. So if you came to America, you went back, you didn't get a job, is that America's fault? Okay, so that one of the things, and somebody was saying that if the second speaker that we listened to, he stated that America gave a lot of money, but America don't know how this money is being spent. So now what we're trying to tell America to go to Liberia, when they give the money, they should go and make sure that maybe it need to be targeted. Maybe it need to be, how will another nation manage another nation's money that way? So maybe it's something that we need to think about. So we'll go quickly to Mr. Felix for your takeaway, and then Mr. Carter quickly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One small information I want to disclose following what to add to what Dr. Lloyd just said. How small the world is. During the Ebola crisis, I was directly tied and supported the team of U.S. Military personnel and medical team that went back there that pretty much turned that situation around, right? Serving in my capacity as a project controls a financial analyst. And I was very excited when I saw the contract and pleased that though from afar I was doing something that was going to better our countrymen. The reason why I raised that fact is think about the intrinsic value of what that means and what that means for the country, right? We can count the hard value and how much it costs, but the lives that were saved, the intrinsic value of more people that could have died, you know, think about that. And then my message, the close, I think, take away from here is I would direct it to our youth and the younger ones. I hope they're listening, but some of them are. And it's pretty simple. To me, there's a time and a place for everything. This is great, in my opinion, learning experience for our youth. And I hope our English instructors and literary instructors back home would take this to the classroom and teach the kids about what it means to present in certain environment and scenarios. That it's never a one shot that fits it all, right? That if you're talking to your peers about a topic, you would talk at a different level than you would talk on that same topic with your parents, or when you go to church, or if you're making a presentation in your classroom, right? And it's the same thing we're talking here about the national orator, right? That was given. Um, as a kid, when my mother sent me to do something, or call on me to do something or explain something, I was very cautious in terms of how I talked to her. Because if I raised my voice, I got a spanking for that, right? Same thing with my dad. And so, again, I'm breaking it down, making it simple because I wanted young people to understand there's a time and place for everything and how you present. And while we applaud Dr. Pailey for providing a speech that provided a lot of food for thought, to back again to Dr. Lloyd's point, the way in which he presented it, the over excitement, I would say, um, it just didn't befit, in my opinion, the occasion. For another time or another place, another setting, that would probably have been a perfect speech. But for a national Independence Day celebration, I think it fell below the threshold of what we expected or one we expect. And so, to the children, remember
Okay.
it's a time and place for everything. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. We will move quickly to Mr. Isaac Cato, but I just want to state the theme of the orator. Is the theme was, or it was entitled "A Radical Agenda for Reimagining Liberia." So that's it. So you can be thinking about it, but we should be reimagining Liberia within Liberia. I think as an empowered woman, I think she did extremely well. She spoke, but I also think that it should have been something within Liberia. How can we fix ourselves first before you start demanding? Mr. Carter, the floor is yours. No, I just got that information from someone. So I was just reading that. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Madam Kier. And yeah, and then just in closing, and that is, I'll close up with this self-reflection. Self-reflection was the key takeaway that I got from that. And I think even if Dr. Pailey thinks about it, maybe this is one that she would maybe want to rephrase or maybe take it back and like do it another way. But I mean, if anything good has come from this, and I'm sure like a lot of good things has come out of it. But one thing that has come out of it with regard to like the layman is the fact that we are all talking about this. This has been like our discussion for the last 3 weeks now. It doesn't matter if it is on this platform or other platform that I've been a guest on. It is always this, there's always somehow find its way in the conversation. So the fact that we are talking about it is a good thing. But now, I guess, like the question that is on the table, what are we going to do about it? And we are all empowered. So let's start empowering those back home and those back home too, especially those that are within government. They should start creating opportunities in the private sector. This was the statement that I made a couple of years ago, and I'll go ahead and I'll make it again. No developed country in this world that you can think of is the government the only sector that prospers. As a matter of fact, in other developed countries, the private sector does better than the government sector. And people just go to serve in government as a way of doing what is called public service and not for the money and so forth. When these students leave LU and AMU or on UMCU, wherever they go, they should be looking for opportunities, not just to go find a position as clerk or secretary, but opportunities within the private sector. And I really do think that is where the real empowerment is going to come from, as far as Liberia really getting out of the route that we have been in for like a very long time. So building that private sector, I mean, we have the NGOs and everything there that's going on, but really building our private sector and encouraging, then this goes back to the point that you cannot insult your guests, but encouraging investors to come in the country and develop, I mean, and help partner with us as we develop our country. I think it's the best way to go. And sometimes you catch whole, I mean, sometimes you catch more bees with honey than with insults. And I just think that is something we should all keep in mind as we speak truth to power, is also discern what this so-called truth is going to get us. And if this is helping us at the end to accomplish our goal, because we always start with the end in mind. And I don't think the end 3 weeks ago would have been this controversy that has been going on, and the whole message has been overshadowed by this stuff. We're not talking about the yellow machines that she talked about. We're not talking about the corruptions. We're not talking about the disparity in how we treat foreigners versus our own people. None of those topics have been the source of our discussion. It has always been I'm like the walkout and this and that. Why wasn't she vetted? Why wasn't the speech vetted? So all of that, I think, has overshadowed what the orator meant to do. And again, if we were starting with the end in mind, I think perhaps we would have all, including the speaker, done things just a little differently. So in
Yep.
closing, self-empowerment is the key.
Thank you so much. I think someone just stated that diminishing national pride is what is happening in Liberia. So how
Mhm.
can we dignify ourselves when our national pride has been diminished? Like that, they alluded to what Dr. Lloyd stated, and that's what we need to work on. Because, for instance, you're talking about businesses in the private sector. Like, for instance, if you take a business partner from here and they are non-Liberian, you're going to go invest. You will not see, it will not be signed. Nothing will be done unless the person that's supposed to sign any paper get a cut or get a percentage before they even start talking. So how will you even go and have business and develop a business? And how will the diaspora even survive or be successful in Liberia? So a lot of things need to be really, really changed. So this is not about, I mean, it's not more, our blame, like we stated, shouldn't be on other countries. Let's look at ourselves. If Dr. Lloyd takes someone to Liberia and say, like, we're going to open business, people will say yes. As soon as you get there, one more cut. And it discourages any foreign investor that will just leave. So that needs to be worked on. So that's what the person is saying. How can that happen, Mr. Cato? If somebody got to put 20% as bribe or something before they can even start talking. So how will we develop the private sectors when all these things are going on? I mean, we have very good ideas, but how can we revamp the whole structure? This needs to stop. So we can, all the scholars can go and give all the speeches that they want to. And I respect Dr. Pailey. She's a very smart woman. She has written some books. I think I had an encounter with her once upon a time. Someone gave her name to us, and we contacted her for her to come in the librarian view. So I've interacted, like we didn't talk that much, but it was just a brief discussion we had. And when I in a discussion, I think through the text or something like that. She's a very bright, brilliant person. But sometimes we all we get excited, as Mr. Wilson said. So all these things we're saying is the framework and the structure in Liberia that needs to change. If that can't change, no private sector, no you, no me. Because when you go there to do your business, you have challenges. When I go there, there's a rollback block. When you send a container, you will pay more than everything that in the container before it's free. So these are the things that needs to change. If they can't change, how will Liberia be developed? Ghana took us in. Look at Ghana. All the West African countries used to be in Liberia. But what is happening now? We are there as slaves. We are there as refugees. No one respects us because what we have done to ourselves. So to me, I think this platform, we've tried our best. We've discussed different topics and we'll continue doing it. But we need to change before we can start pointing fingers. Before you say, I need dignity. People need to respect me. Respect yourself first. Do things differently. So I think that's what I think the young people, I know as all the panelists have spoken, I hope that you can listen to us. We'll share this particular discussion. We hope to have more of this discussion because we've been talking about the fundamental principles for a healthy system in Liberia. And this is the same thing. We need to partner. We need to collaborate. We need to have long-standing partner. One apostle, I think Joshua Solomon from Nigeria, he stated that if you have a friend and you know that's a good friend and you have this disagreement, do everything to fix it. Put your pride down to make sure that friendship don't leave you. And it makes so much sense to me that right now I'm keeping my good friends and I will do everything to bring them back. And that's what we need to be doing. Keeping those who can help you. So if we don't do that, we're not going anywhere. So I want to take this time to say thank you so much. We will be discussing this again, I think, on a different, we'll be looking at it differently. And we're hoping that one day we will have Dr. Pailey and we agree to come on the Liberian View. To me, she's a very young woman, written books, very smart, a scholar. As an empowered woman, I'm very, very proud of her. But sometimes when you've done something and you know it's not, you need to maybe come and restate, make some correction. I hope she will see that because sometimes you got to put your pride off because pride carries you nowhere. So I hope that she will listen in and I will make sure to send this to her text because I think we shared something before so that she can listen in and come to make some, make certain misstatement she made. Maybe that's not the interpretation because like the young man said, maybe that was not what she meant and we hope so. But she had an interview after that. She said she meant everything she said. So I'm hoping that maybe she thought about it. Maybe she can come back, especially when it comes to America. So I want to say thank you to Mr. Councillor Selma Scott, Mr. Abraham Diallo from 9th Street. We want to say thank you to all our viewers, Solomon. We want to say thank you for all your contributions. We will be here on the 30th. We know that Dr. Davis had another appointment, so she had to leave. But we want to say thank you for all the inputs. We know that this was balanced. But if we said anything that was out of place, we want you to send your comments and we will also add that to our discussion. I want to say thank you to the panelists. This was beautiful. Thank you, Mr. Cato, coming to listen in, but at least your contribution was great. Your contribution was very, very good.
The accidental panelist.
Yes, we want to say thank you to Reverend Dr. Lloyd for really laying the foundation. You laid the foundation so well. We want to say thank you. We want to say thank you to Mr. Felix Wilson for everything, for always being there and really speaking to the people that other people can understand what we're discussing or what was in the particular orator speech. So thank you, and we'll see you next week, the last Sunday in the month of August. And this is the Liberian View. Thank you so much.
Have a good night. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Care,
have a good
everybody.
night. Yeah.